Welcome back to some more Dead by Daylight. I am becoming very, very fierce as Trapper, and these next two games is proof of that. So real quick, while I do my setup in-game, let me go over the perks I have. Just Bitter Murmur, Friends Till the End, Spies from the Shadows, and Brutal Strength. Nothing too crazy. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a relatively new killer. As of last month, I think I only had about 80 hours on the game, period, and those were purely survivor hours. And then I discovered a newfound love for playing killer, and with that being said, I can confidently say that if you're trying to get into killer and it's something you think you will enjoy, be prepared to also have to play survivor, because I feel like I am so much fucking better had I played survivor beforehand. And that gives me some insider knowledge about what the survivors want to do, what they're more likely to go for, where to expect them, and you can just cut them off. Or at least be a little bit better at predicting what they're going to do and when they're going to do it. And a large part of that predicting very much ties into playing Trapper a lot, because Trapper is a fairly late game killer, or at least he's a setup killer, so you're going to have to do a little bit beforehand before you start seeking out. And just knowing where to place traps, where you think people are likely to go, being able to predict that ahead of time can literally win you games. I can point it out later when we get there, but there's a point in this match, late game, where I'm looking for the last survivor. I'm about to win. Odds are they're going to escape from the hatch if I don't hurry up and do something. But a trap that I had forgot I placed 20 minutes ago comes out of nowhere, comes in clutch, boom, there's a 4K for me. And if you pay attention to what I'm doing right here, it's always good to keep one trap on you at all times. And that's why I think a lot of people like running Trapper Sack, because by default, you have two traps. Trapper Sack gives you the ability to hold three. And if you're able to hold one trap on you at all times, when you get in a chase with someone like this, and they're trying to loop you around pallets, or loop you through the killer shack, then you have a little ace up your sleeve. You can put that trap down by the window, by the pallet, by the door, whatever. Boom. Now you just cut off their loop, and they're going to have to go find something else. And in the process of them running to go find something else, you're more than likely to catch them. And that sound you just heard right there is music to my ears. And that's another huge tip that I can give any killer, no matter what you're playing. If you are in a chase for somebody for way too long, with no signs of catching up, and they are just looping and looping and looping and looping you, get away. Leave. Go look for somebody else. Find that person again on your own terms. Come back to it later. Catch them off guard, because they're going to keep doing that all day and waste your time. And the next thing you know, the rest of the survivors just completed 3 generators and you're probably going to lose. And that's why I love Trappers so much. Because if I'm in a chase like I was with that Dwight, and I hear that magical sound of someone getting stuck in one of my traps, I'm immediately breaking off from that chase. I'm leaving. I'm going to go get the person that just got stuck. And that even ties into my 2 add-ons that I'm running. One of them being Honing Stone, meaning if somebody steps in one of my bear traps, doesn't matter how much they struggle, they are going to be immediately put in that dying state, which is super, super beneficial for putting pressure on survivors, leaving a chase, getting somebody on the hook, and then making them have to stop going for gens to go unhook their teammate. 2 very embarrassing moments back to back, by the way. I don't even know how I let this happen to me. First let the cake get away and then miss a very easy swing on Dwight. Jesus, what am I even doing? But I'll take that free hit though. I'll find you eventually. And here's what I'm talking about yet again. Dwight running into the killer shack immediately. I already have a trap set up by the window. And then if you notice, I have 1 trap in my inventory already. Put that down right where the pallet is. Cut off 2 of his points of interest. And boom, there's nothing he can do about it. He's trapped. Literally, I'm Trapper. It's what I do. And now, I didn't really understand this part. Whether or not this survivor with the wacky pants was a new player or not, I don't know. It's not my place to judge. But kind of weird behavior. Him just sticking around his trapped teammate like that. I don't know if he was going to try to maybe save him and didn't realize how close I was. But of course, I have Honing Stone, so I know that guy in the trap ain't going nowhere. So of course, I'm going to focus the guy up. See if I can't down both survivors at a time. And boom, there I am right next to the basement. And as Trapper, the sooner you can get survivors in the basement is the sooner you can set up around it and basically win the game. I have blundered it a few times, but it has a very high success rate. Trapper and the basement are a very, very goated combo. And now with only 2 survivors remaining, and both of the hook survivors being in the basement, regardless of the fact that they have 1 generator left to complete, they're gonna have to get bold and make a move if they want to save their teammates, which they're going to do, otherwise they're just a dick. I'm talking to you, Meg. Now, I'm a little upset when she ran down here. She missed my favorite trap, but then it still, by some miracle, absolutely came in clutch, and I thought that was the funniest thing in the world. And once again, 3 survivors now trapped in the basement. Even though the last 4th survivor did complete the generator, now there's that pressure on her. Do I just leave and forget my teammates and just dip out of here, or do I try to pull something out of my ass and maybe go try to save him or whatever? And it turns out it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you do, because I put a trap over there 35 minutes ago, forgot about it, and now you're going to see me wander around for about 5 minutes looking for her, because I have no earthly clue where she could have been downed. I have traps everywhere. Now, I probably would have found her eventually, but Spies from the Shadows coming in clutch, as it does sometimes, allowing me to speed up the process so I can finish out this game with a very much deserved 4K. Which honestly makes me think about Spies from the Shadows in a much different light. I know it can be used in a very lousy way. If you just want to be an asshole and tunnel and use Spies from the Shadows to find the same person 17 times and make sure they die. But I think I can recommend it for trappers, especially trappers that like to run honing stones such as myself, because a downed individual will still alert a crow. So if you trap somebody across the map and they try to crawl away, they're more than likely to scare off a crow, and you're still going to be able to find them when you get there and still get that hook out of it. Also, I just love the way he said touch grass in game chat, because that just makes every win that much sweeter. Now, this game I was actually a little surprised about, because first off, it felt like running simulator while I was playing. I was just walking around. Felt like I was right back in middle school again. I actually had a school that looked just like this. It was atrocious and disgusting. But I couldn't find anybody for the life of me, and I was like, oh, I'm surely gonna lose. They're much better. I'm gonna get 5 gens so fast, and before I have time to blink and say asparagus, they're probably gonna win. But that's exactly what I mean when I say Trapper is a late game killer, because there's been a lot of games where I've spawned in, and the survivors have been on top of things, and boom, 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 3-4 generators later, they have 1 left. I've only hooked somebody once, and I'm like, oh, for sure I'm gonna lose this. But if you meticulously set up your traps and successfully predict where they're gonna be, you can very easily turn the tide, switch the momentum, and have a game go the completely other direction out of nowhere. However, I will actually say that the survivors I went up against this game were actually fairly good at discovering my traps. My traps were getting disarmed fairly regularly, but that was still playing in my favor, because not only am I running Honing Stone, but I'm also running Bloody Coils. So if you do see my trap and disarm it, they're gonna enact a price on you, and they're gonna injure you, so at least I get a free hit out of it. Which is why I absolutely love Bloody Coils, because no matter what you do with my trap, I'm gonna get you somehow. The only way to beat them is to just ignore them. Now, I haven't done too much research on the elementary school map to know whether it is survivor-sided or killer-sided. I will say a lot of the loops on this map don't really make sense to me, like the one she's leading us to outside right now, like this one around here. You see, I got that hit off very easily the first time around, and then once the first pallet was destroyed, she dropped the second one. She didn't have time to run all the way around, and I was just more than likely to catch up to her in no time. Now, maybe she just played it wrong, because I do see a lot of survivors kind of gravitate to that corner. If you're good at not pre-dropping and putting pressure on the killer and looping them for days and days and days. But in that instance, not really sure what she was doing. Now we're kind of just back to running simulator. There is a person on my screen right now that is downed from a trap, but I have no earthly idea where they're at, and by the time I get to them, they're gonna get healed. So I'm taking this as an opportunity to just let them get their person off the hook, give them a second to regroup, recollect, and I'm going back around the map, and I'm resetting all the traps they've disarmed, and resetting traps in different locations to catch them off guard. And I think it's good as a trapper knowing when to break from everything, let the survivors regroup for a second, and then you split off to go kind of do your own thing. And more than likely than not, you're gonna either find some info out by them A, disarming it, or B, them getting trapped in traps that they thought they already disarmed. Now, sometimes it is actually good to hide a trap in plain sight, even though you know they're not gonna fall for it. Maybe by some miracle they do, but especially if you're running bloody coils, or even if you're not, putting a trap in plain sight next to a generator, it's gonna make them want to disarm it to eliminate that pressure and just get it out of the way so they don't accidentally step in it. And then what do you get when they disarm it? Knowledge about, oh, they're on this side of the map. So sometimes it's good to place a trap with the foresight in mind that they'll disarm it later, and that way you'll know, okay, they're back on this generator. That's where I need to get to. Hitting a successful lunge attack right before a pallet drop is gotta be one of the most satisfying things to do as killer. Now we're heading back outside, which all survivors gravitate to the second they're in a chase. But this survivor kind of put herself in a weird position where she was just in a corner and didn't really make any effort or attempt to run out of the corner. So it was just a matter of me closing distance and pinning her against the wall, and there was nothing she could do about it. Which I'm sure you guys have already heard plenty of times before via survivor tutorial videos you've seen already. But from the killer perspective, it couldn't be more right. Why would you run to the outside of the map or run to a place where there is no exit? Knowing where all your doors and windows can be in an area of the map can literally save your life. And if you just pin yourself in a corner up against a wall, you're gonna die. Now, so far in the game, I think I'm doing pretty well. I'm gonna go ahead and just reset all my traps and get a hold of things. They only have 2 generators done, so they're making progress very, very slow, and that's good for me. I'm gonna get a little hint of information outside with these scratch marks on the ground, so I'm gonna follow those to get an idea of where somebody is at, and then it's gonna be confirmed by spies, and I'm immediately gonna set a trap in the doorway to make sure that if they try to run out, they can't get out. And now it's just a matter of time before I force them out of their loops and force them to run in the direction I want them to, which is Trapper in a nutshell right there. All about kind of directing the flow of traffic like you're a shepherd and the survivors are your sheep. And now you gotta direct them in the flow where you want them to run so they step in your traps. Or that happens. Either way. And not so much a pro tip, but just a tip. Pick up your bear traps before you pick somebody up so you don't look like an idiot when you step in it. And because I know that loop is common, I'm gonna definitely go back and I'm gonna put that trap right there again. And here's another tip I can give you. Practice while playing killer at utilizing all of your camera and your peripheral vision. Survivors are playing in third person, you're playing in first person. Unless you're Chucky, but I definitely would not have seen this person had it not been for keeping a keen eye out and moving my camera in such a way that I'm not just focused in on the center of my screen, but using my camera to watch everything around me. And what you're about to see is not, in fact, me cheating, but this is just what playing Survivor for 80 hours before I ever touch Killer looks like. That's something I would have done because I kind of played like a little bitch. So just checking little spots like that when you walk by them just to see if by chance somebody happens to be there, and unfortunately for her, she was. And this survivor right here is a much better example of properly looping me. I didn't have a trap on me, so I couldn't cut off the loop, and she outplayed me very well here. Got a hit out of me and forced me to break the pallet, and she got a fuckload of distance. Now, had I not prepared for this exact moment, maybe I would have been in trouble here, and she could have took me around the map for quite a while, but instead, she's gonna disarm the trap. That's gonna give me a free hit on her. Now she's one shot, and at the same time, another friend of hers stepped in one of my other traps, and now I can put pressure on the survivors once again with a hook. Oh, and then what is that music to my ears that I hear? Another survivor fell victim to one of my traps. Beautiful. This just goes to show how much patience Trapper can require sometimes, and how much you can turn the tides of a match so fast with a few well-placed traps, and then boom, just like that, 1, 2, 3 people were either injured, downed, or hooked because of one of my traps. Now, I am going to go ahead and create a dead zone out of this room a little bit and get rid of that pallet. Because if you've noticed, I'm not hooking the survivor. I know the other person is injured, and I know the other person is probably going to have to make a bold move to come back and rescue her downed teammate. And the sooner I hook this last person is the sooner the hatch will open. So planning for that, I can sort of bide my own time a little bit and keep that added pressure on the survivors and force them to make a move rather than laying low and searching for a hatch and leaving. And since I know the time is once again in my favor, I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm going to go around the map. I'm going to reset a little bit and get better map control. And now that I've done that, she's still downed at the moment, but I'd have to assume that somebody's more than likely to be on that side of the map about to res her. And I notice that she does in fact get rezzed. And when I walk in there, I see that, okay, maybe she had a perk that allows her to heal one state. And I don't know if she gave up right here or what she was doing, but I'm going to go ahead and reset her back down to dying and try to reutilize my strat again to try to catch this last survivor. And even though it seemed like she may have had a perk that allowed her to heal from the dying state once, it's around this time where I'm thinking, okay, maybe there is somebody around here and they're just hiding from me, waiting for me to leave the area. So just in case, I start checking everything and making sure all my bases are covered and start checking around the area to make sure that somebody isn't lurking around. And of course, I don't find anything, but that doesn't matter. I have all the time in the world to look. The pressure is solely on the survivors right now. The longer they take to make a move is the more that she's going to bleed out. But I think I was onto something. I think somebody was in the area because it's around this time that she does get rezzed again. And I think, okay, well, there's definitely two people around here. And thank God for scratch marks, or I probably wouldn't have found that person. And even though they start getting some distance and escaping me right here, I still kind of have an advantage because they are both injured and one hit, meaning they're going to be moaning very loudly. And I don't care how low you turn this game down, no matter what I do to make this game quiet, it's still somehow so obnoxiously loud. So I know it's only a matter of time before I hear one of them in a side room and I get some information about where I think they are and I start pushing. But since I have the advantage already, I take the time to place another trap just in case she gets distance again. But it doesn't matter because a trap I set 20 minutes ago is once again successful. Once again, keeping the pressure on the survivors by making her make a bold move rather than go for the hatch. And she walks right into my trap. Always, always, always find time to break away and just go set up some traps. The odds of you being able to be a mouse one killer as Trapper is very, very slim when you're playing against people that are good. So if you want to catch good survivors off guard and have a higher chance of winning the game, utilize your traps and be smart about it. But that's going to be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you learned something. And by golly, I am definitely getting better at Trapper. Prestige 100, here I come.